Hello everyone. I'm making this video as a response to an online controversy. A series of videos, Facebook posts, and messages surrounding events that took place at the Junior Grappling Association season opener tournament in Woodbridge, Virginia on February 27th, 2016. This video is really a response to the online smear campaign that's been pursued against John Simons as a result of what happened at this competition. So some quick disclosure on my personal involvement. I was present at this tournament. One of my children competed in it. I have two children who attend Odyssey Mixed Martial Arts, which is the gym in King William, Virginia that John Simons is the head coach at. I'm going to break this down into 3 parts. First, I'll talk about the what, right? We're gonna review the evidence that we have access to, cover what exactly happened. Next will be the why, where we'll try to examine a little bit of the context and circumstances that are the reason that the incident occurred in the first place. Because a lot of the stuff floating around, or all of the stuff floating around online right now, is completely devoid of any context and is framed in such a way as to make John look as bad as possible. So I have a problem with that. A few things I'm going to note here up front is I've seen some of these people claim that the people who don't agree with their assessment of the situation and dispute some of their claims have blamed the child in question who was supposedly choked. I don't. I will state unequivocally that I don't think he bears any responsibility for the incident. He didn't do anything wrong. I'm not going to completely absolve John of any responsibility, right? He obviously did something. I think he probably overreacted a bit, but I can understand why given the circumstances, and we'll get into that. I certainly don't agree that he maliciously choked the child. I think that becomes clear when you examine the evidence as well. But that's what's being put out there, right? We're being told that this guy violently attacked a child, essentially. And he's being smeared, and his character's being assassinated online. And they're really not allowing any dissenting voices, conflicting stories, differing viewpoints. They're silencing them all by deleting comments and banning people from Facebook pages and not allowing comments in the first place on the YouTube videos, right? That's one of the reasons why I'm doing this. It's one thing to voice your frustrations online and social media, especially amongst your inner circle. It's a completely different thing to go online and just actively engage in what can't be really called anything else but a smear campaign. It is character assassination, and it's based on what I view as completely dishonest claims, and it looks even more dishonest when you're actively suppressing people who express disagreement or conflicting viewpoints that, dispute your claims that are being made. Alright, anyway, so first thing we're going to do is we're going to look at the first video that surfaced online. This was circulated as evidence that John choked and jerked someone else's kid. That's in air quotes. Clearly they were implying that this was an assault on a child by an adult. You're told this before you're given an opportunity to see the clip, mind you. So first let's just watch it, and then we'll examine it a little further. The video doesn't have sound. It was posted originally with no sound. These are direct rips from the YouTube account that posted them. So right off the bat, you're being told what happened, right? Okay. Okay, so that's pretty much the end of it. I'm going to pause it, that's the end. One thing to point out right away, okay? This video is being circulated as evidence that John choked the kid. But one thing that's really obvious to me from watching it the very first time I saw it, this video does not show him choking the kid. Okay? It just doesn't. If he choked the kid after he lifted him up, then it happened off camera. Okay, so let's just rewind it a little bit, just to highlight this again. I point this out because this is being circulated as evidence, right? This is being circulated as proof that this child was choked by John. Alright, so he lifts him up. Yeah, you see his arm go kind of under his neck, right? But you do not see him choke the kid in this video. You just don't. Okay? So there's that. Whatever happened to extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence? Okay, so now I'm just going to reiterate one time again that this video that we just watched was the only video that was available during the bulk of the smear campaign, right? All the stuff that was done based on this video. This is the video that was spread to the BJJ sites. This was the video that was linked to the Academy sponsors, to John's employers, all of that, right? It's all based on this. I'm gonna go ahead and play the second video, which came out later, now, because I think it's important. Alright, so this was actually posted on March 1st, I believe. It may have been the day before, but this was the first time I saw it. So, as you see, they're already referencing the other video, saying it's going to be in the background. So I'll just go ahead and hit play. This video does have sound, but because I'm recording my voice, I'm muting it. I do have links to these videos, assuming they stay up, in the description, so you can go and listen to it if you want. Okay, so it's happening right over here where my cursor is. And I've actually got it in slow-mo, which is not intentional, so let me start back here. Okay. I had this in slow motion earlier, kind of looking at it. Okay. So John jumps in, grabs the kid, lifts him up. He does hook his arm under his neck for a moment. So that looks kind of bad, right? Before we let this play out anymore, I'm going to come back. Okay, so this is the perfect place to pause. Shrink this down. So VLC Media Player has a frame-by-frame option right here. So we're literally going to go frame by frame. I believe this is 30 frame per second video. So 30 of these clicks should be 1 second of real time. Don't hold me to that. Anyway, so you can see that he's come in and started to grab the kid now. I'm clicking 1 frame at a time. And we're going to get to a point, okay, so right here, John's hand comes up underneath. Okay, so we're going to follow it up. This is John's hand right here, I believe. So yes, it's kind of hooked underneath his neck area as he comes up. But he's lifting him up. And look, okay, so his hand, you may not be able to tell because you might not have seen it, is already starting to come down, okay? You're going to notice right here, this line, now that he's lifted off of the ground, this hand is going to start coming down here. See it coming down? It's coming down out from under his neck. And now, actually, what has happened is he's lost his balance, the kid has, and he's kind of fallen into John. So John now actually is using his strength to push him up, to stand him up, and you're going to see this. His hand is not under his neck at this point. Okay, his hand is down here somewhere. It's hard to tell where it is, but his hand has come out from under the neck. There's no choking going on here. See, we're now being lifted up off of the top of the other kid. He's helping him up to his feet. And then, see, his hand is actually over here, away. He's lifting him with just his right hand. So John has his right arm around the kid and is lifting him up with his right arm. His left hand is free. You see that? Left hand hanging down here. So there's no choking going on. We'll take it back. Let's take it back and play it in real time again, okay? So keep in mind, John's left arm is going to come around, and it is going to come up under the neck. Nobody's disputing that, I don't think. And he's going to lift the kid up, and I measured it earlier, and it looks like his hand is under his neck for about half a second, maybe a little bit longer than half a second. Let's watch it. You see that it was up then down. So to me, it pretty clearly looks like he grabbed the kid and was pulling him and lifts him up and to the right. Okay, so now let's pay attention to what's happening. The child who was supposedly choked immediately stands up, doesn't seem distressed. I'm not going to speak for him. But he immediately starts, congratulating the other competitor. Here they are hugging. This is 10 seconds later, right? Let's go back again. Now, pay attention to the referee in this case, as we will. It doesn't appear... I'll go back a little bit farther, actually. Alright, so the ref is not paying attention to the fight or anything, but now he's paying attention. Okay, he's right in John's face. Does it look like he thinks that the kid was just choked? We've got one guy who comes off from the side, who, in fairness, it could have really looked like the kid was choked for a second. Seems to come to the kid's defense. But it doesn't appear that anyone else around the two kids, or any of the other adults, believe that a child was just choked, assaulted in any way. I mean, yes, there was a bit of a confrontation between John and the guy who may have interpreted it that way, but I would say that it is fair to take into account the actions of everyone who was in the immediate vicinity of the incident. It doesn't... Let's watch it again. And pay attention to the hand again as it comes under. It comes under, lift, let's go. Watch it one more time. Grab, lift, hand comes down. Okay, is that a choke? I mean, it was a half a second maybe that his arm was under his neck. And I dare say it's fair to assume that he was not intending to hurt the child. So, if you have a problem with a coach jumping in, fine. If you have a problem with an adult in general lifting a child with his arm under his neck, fine. Okay, I'm not going to argue with you there. If I were the parent of this child, would I be upset? Probably, right? I mean, generally speaking, you don't want to see somebody putting their hands on your child. And I understand that, and I'm completely sympathetic to that. I don't believe that the person who is primarily responsible for spreading all this stuff is the parent of the child. I believe... I think I know who the parent of the child is based on some of the Facebook posts. But I think the primary person spreading all this is a coach of the child, not the parent. So like I'm saying, I could totally sympathize with the parent of the kid being upset. But even still, I don't think that any of this warrants any of the things that have been done or said or spread online. We're just going to switch back to it one last time. Okay? Lift the hands down. I mean, does the kid look like he just got choked? No. Does the ref look like the kid was just choked? This guy looks mad. I think that's the dad, actually. Anyway. Judge for yourself, but to me, especially considering that this all was initially based on not even this video which shows it. It was based on a video that was edited to not show it or just couldn't see it. So yeah. Alright, so now we're going to get into part 2, which is the why, where we're going to talk just a little bit about what led to John intervening in the first place, which may be obvious to some of you. So let's go back to the first video. I'm going to skip all the propaganda at the beginning, just in the interest of time. Alright, so real quick. You probably already picked up on this, but what's about to happen is the kid on top is about to fully lock in a rear naked choke and flatten out the kid on the bottom. Okay? At the same time that he flattens him out, you're going to notice over here, directly in front of the referee, the sock come and hit the ground. Now, in this tournament, some of the mats had buzzers that indicated the time being up, and some of them apparently didn't. They all had visible timer displays. But the way they apparently were signifying the end of the match on this particular mat was only by throwing the sock. I think all of them were throwing the sock, but the only way apparently that this mat was indicating that the round was over, or the match was over, was by throwing a sock onto the mat. So you're going to see that sock come in here at the bottom of the screen. Now, the ref's not stopping the fight. Okay. That was a few seconds, probably 3 seconds, I believe, from the moment that the sock hits the ground until the ref really lightly taps the kid on the back. Now, I don't know about you, but if my kid is in a full rear naked choke and flattened out on the bottom, and the timer ends, I want the ref to immediately stop the choke. Okay, I'm expecting him to immediately stop the choke. In my mind, the referee's #1 responsibility here is to protect the children, to protect the competitors, especially when they're in a compromising position like that, right? When the timer ends, matter of fact, I expect that the referee is going to have an awareness of the timer. And what's funny is that as the sock is thrown out, he seems to be looking directly towards the table where the timer is clearly displayed, right? So in theory, this guy's looking straight at the timer as the sock is coming out. Should have an awareness of the time left in the match. Should be preparing himself to stop the match as the timer is approaching 0. Right? So let's watch it one more time. Alright, so he's already sitting up, and we're going to see in the other video, you can't see his head here, but in the other video you can see that he's looking and kind of gesturing. It looks like he's talking to somebody over near the table. Perhaps it's one of the parents or coaches on the sideline because they were sort of in between the mat and the table. But he's looking in the general direction that the sock is coming from, right? Why does the sock hit the ground 1, 1,000, 2, 1,000? I'm going to lightly tap the guy. It's probably closer to 3 full seconds before he even makes any contact with the kid on top. Now, as anybody who's ever been choked probably knows, 3 full seconds in a rear naked choke can make a big difference in whether or not you're conscious or unconscious. Even at age 12, 13, whatever the age these kids are. So, I mean, this is... If I'm a parent in competition, if I'm the parent of both of these kids, what happens afterwards, I'm going to be most angry at the referee for not protecting this child on the bottom. Okay? This is negligence, in my opinion. I don't know what was going on with this guy. There were other questionable situations on this mat with this referee, and that, I believe, does have something to do, does factor in, at least in part, to John's reaction. But really, what's happening here is he's protecting his kid, right? He's not hurting the guy on top. He sees the ref not paying attention here. The fight's over, and his kid is being choked. Okay? Somebody needs to do something. If that's my kid on the bottom, I want somebody to do something. If the ref's not paying attention, somebody please stop my child from being choked unconscious. Alright? So let's go to the second video. Rewind it back to the beginning. We're going to see it again. Now, in this video, you cannot actually see the sock hit the ground, but we know from the other video that the sock hits the ground right as the ref raises his arms in the air. Okay? So his arm's just raised in the air. So let's do it again. Alright. So I'm going to try and get to the point where we Alright, right when we can see the ref's head here. Now, I think the sock is basically hitting the ground right around now. But I'm going to pause it, but just pay attention right here. This is the ref's arm here. The ref's arm raises up right about the same moment, or maybe even a little bit after. We might go back to the first video and see that the sock hits the ground. Okay, it's right there. The sock's already on the ground. The kid's being choked. He lightly touches him. It just lifts him off. Okay? Again, this looks clearly to me like concern for the child being choked. Now, if you have a problem with the manner that John lifted the kid up off the mat, okay. If you have a problem generally, again, with an adult stepping into the match for any reason, okay. I would debate you on that. But that doesn't warrant you going out and essentially trying to spread the word to the entire community. Mixed martial arts community, jiu-jitsu community, whatever you want to call it. To anybody and everybody that will listen, post it anywhere and everywhere you can think to. Try to encourage people not to go to this gym, contact the sponsor, contact his employer, all these things. These are completely unwarranted. You're going out and you're telling people that this guy has assaulted a child. Now, whether or not you think he should or should not have lifted the kid up the way he did is up to you. But I don't see how you get from this to he hurt a kid, he is a hothead, and he has no self-control or discipline. He was watching his child get choked unconscious, and I know from talking to that kid's, I didn't directly talk to the kid's parents, but I know that he was a little disoriented when he got up. I mean, the choke was deep. You can see him, he actually looks like he's stumbling around a little bit here. I don't think he's fully recovered. So, again, it just, if you provide some context here, you can sort of tune your outrage meter a little bit, I think. If you just see it and you're told, okay, this guy's choking a kid, and you just see that one little clip, you're like, wow, he just jumped in and attacked the kid randomly, right? That's not what happened at all. He may have overreacted, and I think he probably did overreact. I mean, I guess ideally what he should have done is jumped in and kind of separated the kid on top's arm so that the choke wasn't being applied anymore, and then let go, right? I guess in an ideal world that would have been the best thing to do. That's what I would have liked to have seen him do, no matter whether I was part of his team or not. If that's my kid especially, or if it's any kid, you don't want to watch a kid get choked unconscious. It shouldn't happen in these tournaments. Okay. So that's that, and now we're going to get on to the social media part and all the smearing that's being done. So you may notice I had this up at the beginning. This is this guy Bryce Fishing Hawk. I don't know if this is his real name or not. It seems weird, but maybe it is. This is something I found on his Facebook page when I was taking screenshots of all his slanderous posts. Now it probably makes sense why it's up there, huh? Does it make a little bit more sense to you now? This was 3 days before the competition, you might notice. So I just thought this was a little funny and ironic thing to stick in here. So we're going to just kind of browse through some of the posts that have been made. I apologize in advance, these are not in chronological order. They're screenshotted from a couple of different pages. But, you know, you'll get the gist. So here's one. And most of these actually are kind of copy-pasted. It looks like he basically was just copy-pasting the same couple of paragraphs to as many places as he could think to. So, you know, coach jumped on a 13-year-old kid, grabbed him in a chokehold, which, no, I don't agree with that from looking at the video. And, you know, never mind the fact that I was there and I saw it. Jerked him off another kid while in a match. Okay, that's incorrect. The match was over. There's no justification for something like that? Okay. Well, maybe there is. That's debatable, if you ask me. So, oh, also down here, this is funny. Criminal charges would have been fine. Yeah, good luck with that. Despite being choked and jerked by a grown man, Johnny was still able to come home with gold. Okay. you know, just pointing this out because he's still claiming that the kid was choked. Another post, basically the same thing. Telling anybody who's a member of Odyssey MMA, which happens to include me, find a new gym. If you run a tournament, ban this gym from attending your tournaments, because punishing all the students of the gym makes sense as punishment for one of the coach's actions at a tournament, right? Even if it was egregious and malicious, which I don't believe it was, obviously. Same thing other than that. Here we got another one. Basically the same string of text. I'm just kind of including most or all of these. It's not all of them. It's most of them that were up as of March 1st, which is when I took these screenshots. This video is being recorded on March 2nd. Yeah, see, even he notes that he's been posting a lot of the same stuff. So just bear with me. Spelled wrong. Okay. Okay. Here is apparently where he okay, so this is the second video. I guess it came out on February 28th, which is the next day. So this is the first time apparently he's posting the second video. Just kind of skimming through this here. There's no justification for something like that? None. Okay, here we go. Also, this coach had been screaming and arguing and being rude throughout the day and had caused many problems. Okay, so just to address that quickly. I wasn't standing near John for most of the day. But I witnessed some really terrible situations that some of the kids were put in because of refereeing problems. And I definitely did witness John argue with the refs a few times, and the couple of times that I saw it, it appeared completely justified, and I was kind of bewildered, and some of the parents around me who I didn't know and weren't part of the team also seemed pretty bewildered by some of these calls, or non-calls, in a couple of cases, that these refs were or were not making. Okay, so, you know, he's framing him as this hothead, he's been screaming and arguing. Well, you know, as he says in his next paragraph, I understand sometimes tensions run high during competition. Well, yeah, especially when you're observing kids getting incorrectly awarded points or not awarded points, or, you know, when your kids lose or win because of what you feel is a bad refereeing call or non-call. It can be pretty frustrating, especially when it continues to happen. I mean, everybody's human. We all make mistakes, but it seemed to be a pattern, especially with the ref that was involved in the incident. That one, I saw him make a bunch of mistakes. So this is just another thing that they're putting out there to try and assassinate his character. The other thing that he says here is that when he done this to the kid, everyone reacted properly. So the coach had a sissy fit and left the tournament, which is exactly what needed to be done. Okay, so it's not true. The coach and the team did leave the tournament. Anybody who was there probably knows that. But it wasn't until well after the incident occurred, and it wasn't as a direct result of the incident. It was a direct result of the just piling on of bad calls, no calls, and problems that were observed. And I agreed with John's decision to leave the tournament because it really did start to become a problem where the children were not being protected in a way that we expected them to be. My kid did not have a protection issue, but in one of his matches there was a seriously egregious call where position was changed, so I won't get into that. But there was just a continuous stream of bad situations that the kids were put into that they shouldn't have been, and we didn't protest really when it was time to go. So we'll move on to the next one. Okay, so yeah, John does work as a bodyguard for Five Finger Death Punch, which is a band. So here he is sending them a message, basically telling them they shouldn't employ him because he assaults children. Right, so anyone who will, any way that they can find to harm this guy, they're going to do it, right? So there's another post. Apparently the original poster of the second video, I think, took it down. Yeah, so Jiu-Jitsu Times and Eastern BJJ Europe, these are, I don't know how much traffic these websites have, but judging from some of the ad engines on them, they probably do get a fair amount of traffic. So they submitted these. I'm not sure how they got these on these sites, but these appear to be somewhat high trafficked sites. That the first video, the one that doesn't show him choking anybody, are posted on. So yeah, apparently the gym shut down their fan page. I think they did actually suspend the Facebook page. I can't really blame them. They were in full damage control mode because they would be actively smeared on the internet. And there's really not a whole lot you can do, whether it's the claims that are being made are true or untrue. When people decide they want to smear you and they're willing to put in the time and effort, there's not a whole lot you can do in terms of countering it other than to put your arguments out there in a format that doesn't allow them to be the moderators. So here they are soliciting people to leave bad reviews on the Odyssey Yelp page, which, you know, be what it is, it's a misuse of the Yelp platform. I don't think they particularly care. It just kind of goes to show you that they're really in this to win it, right? Like, they really want to take this guy down. They want to harm his reputation. They want to harm his livelihood by negatively impacting his gym. So this is where he sent a message to Title MMA, which is a sponsor of the competition team at Odyssey, where they say they're aware of the situation. So again, trying to cause problems with him. Okay, so this is where John posts his comment. So I'll zoom in a little bit so we can actually see it. I'm not going to read the whole thing. You can pause the video and read it. Long story short, he says basically what I've been saying here, that the choke was being held, the ref didn't stop the choke, and he reacted instinctively, jumped in, and pulled the kid off. He understands that it's... Oh, I guess I'll read that part. I realize with the 100 events and literally thousands of matches I've coached that intervening in a match is unacceptable. However, in this case, my instincts kicked in and I reacted to a situation that could have led to something much worse. Once I knew both children were alright, I immediately addressed the referee, who was apologetic about the mishap. The promoter for the event was within feet of the action and told me he was about to jump in and break it up himself, meaning the choke. So, let's zoom back out. Okay. So one other thing worth noting here is that his comment on the apology or statement from John is, you'll note it says, I do feel the reply is genuine. At least he said something, I do feel the reply is genuine. Ultimately, I think this guy understands what he did was wrong, and I definitely don't think it will happen again. Okay, so he's saying, I think the reply is genuine, I don't think it'll ever happen again. So you might think that he would take all the stuff down, but as of right now, it's not taken down. Another thing to point out here is that, he says all those things up here, but down at the bottom, he says, I think he was forced to do this, and I agree, this is shit. So in the same thread, we have him basically saying, I think it's genuine, it's valid, and not so much. Alright, so I believe this is the continuation of the comment thread on that previous screenshot, this one right here. maybe not. Actually, I think what this is I screenshotted this because he's actually talking about blocking, deleting people's comments, and blocking people. So that's why I thought this was relevant. You see, he says, started on the fan page, and I let them share their opinions until they got nasty and unobjective, so I had to block them. Then they started messaging me directly. Okay, so, you know, I'm obviously not privy to the content of every message that was posted or sent to him. But what I can say for sure is that I won't say from who, but I personally witnessed some comments made that were not inflammatory, certainly weren't unobjective. It's not even a word, but and they were deleted pretty much immediately. And when the comments were reposted, even rephrased and reposted, they were deleted immediately. And after a few comments were left, the account was blocked from the page. So, I mean, there is, no matter what they say, I mean, well, they're pretty much acknowledging that they're silencing people, but under the guise of, you know, shutting people down who are being nasty or unobjective. You know, how dare you be nasty, right? As if what this guy's doing is not nasty. So, okay, so this one, I had to put this one in here. This one really just almost is the icing on the cake. So for those of you who don't pick up on what this is a pretty clearly a reference to Ahmed the Clock Kid, which is what he was called, which is the kid, I believe, in Texas who brought what was supposedly a clock to school. Teachers thought it was a bomb. So the cops came and they wound up arresting him, and it turned into a whole big ordeal because he's Muslim, and people accused the police and the school of Islamophobia and all this stuff. Anyway, essentially what they're doing here is equating the experience of the child who was supposedly choked with the experience of a child who was hauled off to jail and allegedly not allowed access to his parents, which was illegal. So consider that for a moment. Who knows if they're being serious, but we're comparing these two experiences at this point, which seems pretty ridiculous to me. And the last comment, heck yeah, I agree. Let's get the media involved. Shall we do the race game? Not really sure what the intention of that is, but it doesn't seem great. Moving on. Okay, so this appears to be the guy who is the father of the child. He's got a picture of him in his profile picture, and he says he's his son. So this guy posted a bunch of, basically he reposted all of the same videos and posts that the Bryce Fishing Hog guy was posting. So again, I said this before, I do sympathize with this guy to some extent in being angry. However, I don't find it excusable. I think it's inexcusable to perpetuate this kind of dishonesty at someone else's expense, right? If this guy wants to be mad at John, if he wants to hate him, you know, go for it. If he wants to seek avenues to formally complain, or, you know, whatever he feels like he needs to do, obviously my personal opinion is that's not warranted, but I wouldn't necessarily fault him for that. I would disagree with him, right? What is completely unacceptable in my mind is spreading this as a means to discredit and otherwise harm the reputation of somebody who, in my view, didn't do anything that warrants that type of punishment. So there are a few posts from him. I can't believe people are defending the coach and blaming John D for holding the choke. I didn't see anybody do that. That meaning blaming John D for holding the choke. I said that at the beginning because of this particular screenshot. I didn't see anybody blame the kid. I don't think he really held on to the choke too long. I don't think he did anything wrong. So there's that. I don't know whether that's real or whether that's just another part of their tactic to try and smear / silence any dissenting voices. I don't know. But, he's still claiming that his child was choked, which just is objectively not true as far as I'm concerned. Same thing. Okay, so this is the site, actually. This BJJEE, the BJJ Eastern Europe site. This is a link from that site where the video is actually posted. I believe I have a screenshot of that site in here. So this is the Future Fighters page, which I believe is it's either I'm not sure if it's the gym or just some sort of organization that these two are involved in. The team, I guess, that the kid is from. So, they're doing the same thing, soliciting people to leave bad Yelp reviews for Odyssey, which, again, and also Google reviews down there at the bottom. So, it might seem like a small thing, people who don't, own a business, run a business, or who aren't familiar with the power of online review systems, for better or for worse. But, this type of thing, and I think these guys know it, this type of thing can cause real damage to a business, to a company. To what extent is it applicable to MMA gyms, jiu-jitsu gyms? I'm not sure, but I work in the IT space, and I can tell you that one bad review is a really big deal for a lot of companies, and it can be even in cases such as this, where the reviews are clearly not legitimate, because it's not legitimate to go review a place you've never been, with people you've never interacted with, because of something that happened outside the context of that gym. Even when the reviews are illegitimate, such as this, it can be really hard to get Yelp or Google to actually take them down, and it can cause a lot of damage. So it might seem like a small thing, but this is actually a pretty big deal, and I have a problem with it. So, you can see the Future Fighters is just continuing to repost these same videos. Same video. I didn't see how many followers or likes this page has, but you'll notice that it has 1,200 views, and this is within 24 hours of it being posted. So, I mean, that's a pretty significant amount, considering the small scale of it. Yeah, so this is just Future Fighters page reposting all these same things. So here's the Future Fighters YouTube channel where the videos are posted. This is actually where I downloaded them from. I'm not 100% sure these are the original sources of the video. I don't think that they are. I know the second one supposedly came from somebody else and it was reposted here. He actually reposted this about, I think it was 5 or 6. So if you notice, all of these screenshots were taken within a 30-minute period, and if you notice at the bottom it says 1 hour ago this was uploaded. If we go back to where the comment was made about the statement from John, this was 7 hours previous. So, he goes from reposting the statement from John, saying that he believes it's genuine, that it won't happen again. Take from it what you will. He continues to, by saying that he doesn't agree with his own statement, seemingly. But, this was 7 hours ago, and this video was uploaded 1 hour ago. So don't get it twisted. He's not stopping his campaign because of the statement, even though he seems to be saying that he believes that it's a genuine apology or statement and that it won't happen again. Now, if you don't believe that something will ever happen again, if that's true, why would you continue to slander someone publicly? Unless you were just out for retribution, which is what I contend is happening here. Here's the BJJEE.com page where it's posted. Yeah. And so we've reached the end. Now, this is the bottom of both YouTube videos. As was mentioned earlier, there are no comments allowed on either of the YouTube videos. How convenient. So yeah, I know I've done a lot of rambling. Probably a sort of a painful video to watch, but I just want to sum it up by saying I don't agree that the child was assaulted. I have a big problem with the tactics being used and the smear campaign that's being employed against John. I think it's wrong, it's dishonest, and it is just disgusting, to be perfectly frank. I hope that they'll stop. I hope they will, but, you know, with people like this, you never know. So, whatever we can do to spread our responses, whatever we can do to counter this argument in a place that they don't have the power to moderate our comments, our posts, our videos, let's fight back. So let's defend John against unfair attacks. And yeah, thanks for watching.